Hi, my name is Jan Wilczek from WolfSound.com. Welcome to WolfTalk, a podcast about audio programming. In this podcast, you will learn how to build your career in programming or research related to audio, meet programmers and researchers from all around the world, and learn about the intricacies of sound. Hi everyone, and welcome to the 11th episode of the WolfTalk podcast. In the last episode, Sasha from GPU Audio said hello Andrew Fyfe, and in this podcast episode I can do the same because today our special guest is Andrew Fyfe, who is a researcher, R&D researcher at Cosmo, and is also a PhD student at the University of Glasgow, all in the area of machine learning, deep learning applied to audio processing, and especially the technology involving putting neural networks into audio plugins to be able to easily run your neural networks in a digital audio workstation. And this technology is called Neutone, and it really allows you to create VST audio plugins for DAW, and you can easily load your PyTorch models into them and test them on the audio material of your choice, and you can also give it to the users in the form of a plugin. So this podcast was recorded on March the 4th of 2023. I'm mentioning it because sometimes it's like yesterday, next week, something like this. So it was March the 4th. And please take heed because Andrew is also discussing the neural audio plugin competition, which is going on until March the 17th, 2023. But please refer to the rest of the podcast for the details. I wanted to let you know that if you would like to build audio plugins, possibly running neural networks, but typically classical audio plugins, then you are looking for a roadmap of how to learn it, I have a resource just for you. It's my free audio plugin developer checklist that you can get under WolfSound.com/checklist. Once again, it's WolfSound.com/checklist. It's your step-by-step, point-by-point guide to how to become a full-fledged audio developer. If you're interested in any references from this podcast episode, they can be found under WolfSound.com/talk011. Once again, WolfSound.com/talk011. And if you would like to support the podcast, please leave a review at Apple Podcasts or a comment and like on YouTube. And now, Andrew Fyfe. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for agreeing on this interview. Could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so my name is Andrew Fyfe. I'm an AI application engineer at Cosmo, and I'm also a PhD researcher at the University of Glasgow, looking at neuro-audio technologies, researching neuro-audio technologies, and building tools that utilize neuro-audio technologies.
Awesome. And could you maybe tell us, how did you get into audio research? I know that you were an involved musician. How did it start for you?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, as with, probably a lot of people in our industry, I was a musician first. Came in at it as a musician from a young age, taking up guitar, being creative, composing music, and then, slowly getting into bands, writing music, touring around, traveling, all that good stuff, fun stuff when you're younger, and then, tried to find a way. Like at school, I was always interested in science and mathematics, and I tried to find a way to bridge, between these two passions of like music and the arts and sciences, and I stumbled across this course at the University of Glasgow, which was the Electronics with Music undergraduate course. And it was actually, well, it was an integrated master's course, so it was a year longer than the bachelor's, and you just sort of done a full 5 years and got like a master's at the end. And yeah, that kind of started my journey into music technology. And it's, you know, a lot of the fundamentals that I learned were sort of electrical and electronic engineering principles, and you know, there's a lot of hardware and electronic design and, you know, that sort of side of things initially, and the physics obviously, and then I think during the middle of my course I started to pick up modules in digital signal processing and coding. I used to be dreadful at programming at the start. Like my first year, I remember like doing an introductory C programming course, and like had no understanding or intuition for how to work with these sort of languages, and definitely kind of went in at the deep end. But it was only until I did a project with that was inspired by one of my friends who built like a piece of hardware that was like a synthesizer, and he was showing me how he created it to do certain behaviors, writing in C and C++, that I kind of picked up this interest and passion to learn these programming languages, and then in the middle of my course started taking modules in Python for audio programming, and starting to do C++ as doing like interactive arts projects. And I ended up building like an audio visual. My first big project that I did in this sort of space was like building an audio visual synthesizer using like a Raspberry Pi, and like hooking it up to like you could hook it up through HDMI to like a screen, and it was using like pure data under the hood as well, and like doing like mad sound effects, which would be reactive to the visuals would be reactive to the sound and all this sort of stuff. And it was like this little plastic box. It was like an arcade box with like, you know, buttons, light up buttons and rotary knobs and stuff like that. It was like proper hobbyist style, but like it was a lot of fun. And so like that was sort of the origin story. Was into DSP and audio programming first. I ended up doing my master's placement at Krotos Audio, who are a company based in Edinburgh, and they do a lot of plug-in development for sound designers, sort of catering towards sound designers and building workflows and tools for sound designers in the film industry and the games industry. And I was there for a couple of years doing R&D for them and building features as part of their VST plugins. And then I decided to go back to university to do a PhD, which was an interesting situation, because I didn't actually intend to do a PhD in it.
No one ever does. No one ever.
Yeah, no one ever does. But in my situation, I felt was really bizarre, because like it was more like I had no plan to do a PhD at all. I was like, I'm in industry now. That's where I want to be. But it was actually my supervisor, well, my now supervisor, who was a lecturer in some of my courses at the time when I was doing my undergraduate, just sort of messaged me and was like, you know, we've got this potential funding opportunity to do a PhD in AI related developments in music, and you know, we know that you're, based on what you did in your master's placement, that you're interested in you know, signal processing and real time audio and building tools and things like that, and wondering if you would be interested in being the name like attached to this application to seek or to apply for funding. And I was like, sure. Again, I was like, this sounds quite interesting. I'll explore it, but you know, I'm not if it doesn't come through and I don't get funding for this, like, I'm not super bothered about it. Like, I'll just continue on my own, my current track, in sort of industry. And yeah, sure enough, it came back and there was funding granted for this PhD. And it was, loosely around sort of applying AI to audio and the music creative process and composition process. And yeah, that was it. I was enrolled in a PhD and kind of ended up going down that track. But it's only in hindsight now that I'm really grateful for that sort of opportunity, because it allowed me to explore a lot of avenues that I wouldn't probably have been able to do as easily, maybe, and just working in industry. It gave me a lot of flexibility and freedom to explore new topics, and led to where I am now, I guess. Like, during the PhD, I ended up exploring, again, wanting to do another placement with a company that is maybe using these cutting edge AI technologies and applying them to the music sort of creative and composition process, and ended up reaching out to, or finding, Cosmo, who are the company that I work for now. And they are based in Tokyo, and they do a lot of arts projects. They do a lot of AI and arts projects, but they also are building tools for creators and musicians. And I was really interested by their work in applying AI technologies to that sort of creative process and to the arts. And I ended up doing a placement with them for a few months, and ended up doing some really fun stuff with them, which I can talk about as well, because it's continued on. It's just like a story here where it's just been building on from each event. So like from there, I ended up like building some plugins that use neuro audio technology in real time, and they were well received at some hackathon that I participated in. It was the Nash hackathon hosted by QMUL University in London. And that led to the birth of the Neutone project, which is kind of my main responsibility and project that I'm leading at Cosmo now, which is all about, again, neuro audio technologies, getting them into the hands of creators through a VST plugin host, which allows you to run lots of different neuro audio models and as part of like your creative workflow and stuff like that. So that's kind of from beginning to where I am now.
So there are a lot of topics, and especially you reminded me that I need to finally learn pure data properly. But
yes, it's good fun.
But maybe before we jump into Neutone, I wanted to ask, because I know that PhDs are typically taking some time to evolve into a concrete topic. So after starting out, it's this kind of broadly defined area of AI in music creative process. Are you now able to say what your PhD is about?
Yeah. So, like you said, it started quite broad, quite vague in a way, and over the course of time, it's I guess sharpened towards something more specific. And right at the start, I was thinking about exploring using AI for, I suppose, like accompaniment with in live performance. So there was this idea of trying to create tools that allow the musician or the performer to offload work to like an AI to perform alongside them, which I still think is a really interesting topic. But I ended up exploring, when I started to kind of venture into exploring this idea, I ended up, and when I started learning more about AI and neural networks and deep learning, I kind of I was naturally gravitating towards generative models, and I just found something interesting about how neural networks learned and then were able to generate and create something new. Specifically for me, again, I'm super interested in a lot of the symbolic stuff as well, like with MIDI. But like for me, it was always in audio, like just because I came from maybe a digital signal processing background. I was always interested in how neural networks could be used to enhance, augment, and manipulate audio and synthesize audio. So a lot of my PhD ended up exploring timbre, and that was actually, in hindsight, an extension of what I explored as part of my master's dissertation as well, which was, the basis, I feel, with my interest in this domain, because it was part of my master's dissertation. I was exploring, I wouldn't even call them like ML technologies, really, but like there were very early speech processing algorithms. Some people called them like ML at the time. Some people, wouldn't call them ML now for sure. But they did have a sort of predictive nature to how they perform. So it depends on how you see it. But it was this idea of like timbral. I was interested in timbral morphing and like achieving a sort of timbral cross synthesis type effects. So like being able to take spectral and timbral characteristics from one sound and impose them on another and create something new, or fuse spectral and timbral characteristics together. So I ended up exploring like speech processing techniques like linear predictive coding and line spectral pairs and ways and how to like capture and represent spectral information, and be able to like interpolate and blend between different spectral information, and create like really interesting effects. And I think typically like one famous example of this sort of timbral morphing or cross synthesis sort of idea in the maybe pop culture is the vocoder. It's a very iconic sound, and that takes the spectral envelope of the voice and timbral characteristics of the voice and imposes that onto some sort of carrier waveform, like a like a synthesizer waveform or something like that, and gives a really interesting sound effect. So I was really interested in all that sort of stuff from the get-go, from the beginning, and neural networks and exploring deep learning really was an extension of my interest in timbre and achieving timbral effects. And I ended up at the beginning of my PhD exploring using very sort of shallow neural networks to synthesize sort of basic waveforms and sort of capturing the subtle nuances that were in the generated waveforms that were different from like the training data, which I found really interesting. The sort of the error and inaccuracies of the neural networks within a creative context is just as interesting as having something that can accurately represent something that you're training on as well. So I explored that. I ended up getting into like generative adversarial networks, which were a lot more complex and able to generate more, I guess, like natural sounding or like more complex sounds. So I applied that to like sound design, generating like footsteps and nature sounds and things like that. Things that would be a lot more difficult to like synthesize with oscillators, for example. And then I ended up exploring like style transfer through GANs and VAEs, so variational autoencoders, and this being able to like translate something loosely from like input audio and create like a similar representation of that, but in a different form, like on the output. Taking like violin sound to piano and it follows how that music is represented in the input. So whether it's the temporal information and frequency information, pitch, things like that. But like in a completely different instrument, or like, drums to voice, for example. Like typical ideas, like if translating drums to voice, you get maybe like a beatboxing kind of sound, which is something that's always good fun to play about with. And we actually feature models like that as part of our of the Neutone platform as well, currently. So anyway, that was kind of like how the PhD evolved for me. It was very much centered around technologies that could augment and extend timbral characteristics within sounds to try and explore, achieving more complex and interesting sounds for artists to use in their creative practice and in their workflows, and ended up building a lot of tools that allowed me and others to deploy neural networks and deep learning and neural audio technologies in the DAW as well, which again wasn't it's not an easy thing to do, and a lot of artists and creatives out there are really interested in these fast evolving technologies and can't access them, or they're maybe in a form that's not really accessible, like Colab notebooks. Like a lot of maybe artists that are not familiar with programming languages don't know how to navigate that. So it was really I wanted to build familiar interfaces and familiar tools for artists and creatives to use to actually harness like the latest advancements and innovations in this sort of AI audio space. So that's how the PhD kind of got to where it is now. And now I'm at the tail end of it, which is the thesis write-up. And hopefully I'm almost there with that, and we'll be finished very, very soon. But yeah.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
So let me ask you then, how did you get in touch with Cosmo?
Yeah, so that really happened when so first of all, just to kind of preface that, like I'd went to Japan just on vacation, and like the year before, or no, around the time I was thinking about applying for a placement, and I think I had an incredible time, seeing Japan and seeing the culture over here, and really wanted to explore those opportunities more. Also from my own interest, like I know like a lot of massive and influential music tech companies over in Japan and in Tokyo as well. So I ended up exploring this idea of, what if I did my research placement in Japan, and was just exploring and seeing what companies were working on applying AI to audio and music, and ended up stumbling across the work that Cosmo were doing. They had a sort of international presence with people from all over the world, like working with Cosmo, and they published a lot of great research. And I ended up reaching out to one of the members of Cosmo, first of all, who his name is Max Frenzo, and he did some really awesome work with variational autoencoders for audio, and created some really easy to use and fun Python scripts that allowed you to sort of train models and generate audio and stuff like that. And I really was fascinated by that sort of work. And I was working at the time on building some tools for pure data, actually, that were allowing you to run these technologies like GANs and VAEs in pure data initially. So I built these externals that were running like Python to call these scripts and generating audio, and then rendering it through pure data and stuff that way. But through that exercise and building these tools, I stumbled across Max Frenzel's work at Cosmo, and then also the founder of Cosmo as well, Nel Takui, who did a lot of great performances of actually showing how AI can enhance the creative process, and for live performances as well. Has one of his most famous pieces is like his AI DJ project, which is a kind of ongoing initiative that he works on, where he plays like live DJ electronic sets, where the AI is also controlling different aspects of the performance, whether it's audio generation or controlling the mix, and it's usually in a few different ways. But I was just really in awe of how exciting these technologies were and how they were being applied to art and music, and the Cosmo were at the center of all that in Japan, doing these great things, and it was the right fit for me. I felt as I could really resonate with their culture and values. They were putting art and the creation of art like at the forefront of everything they did. And all the engineering and tools and work and R&D work that they do is all about trying to enhance creativity, and it's all stuff that they build there is used in their own creative work, in their own performances, and for art installations and live performances and live sets, and it's just a great full cycle of development, I feel, that goes on at Cosmo. And was lucky enough to reach out, and they were interested in my research. They were interested in building more tools for the DAW and plugins and applications, and I had my skill set was in those sort of areas, so ended up like doing being taken on for a research placement with them, and during that built some really fun tools, and that's just been built on and led to, for example, the Neutone project, and I've just continued working for them ever since then. So I'm now, I think I'm over 2 years in total, I think, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
I need to double check, but working with Cosmo. So from like a sort of part-time or like placement, and then part-time capacity, and then now kind of full-time capacity. And that's me now living in Japan, full-time as well now. So I've got, I've got a visa to work over here, and I'm sort of relocated to Tokyo now, permanently. So it's been a really exciting time over the past couple of years.
Does sound incredible and exciting. So continuing in this trend, I wanted to ask, because you mentioned the Neutone project, and as far as I understand, it is a tool that allows you to run neural network models inside your audio plugins in digital audio workstations. You also had a presentation about this during the Audio Developers Conference 2022, which I saw is already available on YouTube to see. So maybe for people interested in that presentation, we can link to it. But maybe is there something that you'd like to summarize about Neutone and maybe add to the presentation that would be interesting to the listeners?
Yeah, well, so I mean, Neutone is a combination of different things really now. It's definitely grown a lot since the beginning of this idea, and so just to kind of summarize it to those who are listening, it's essentially a platform that has a VST plugin at the center of it, which allows you to run neural networks in the DAW sort of dynamically. You can sort of change out and hot swap different neural audio or deep learning models to run them through this host plugin. And we have been able to do that by designing an SDK that's written in Python and works with PyTorch models, which is the deep learning framework, PyTorch for building neural audio models. our SDK that we've built for Neutone allows you to wrap a model that you've built to be compatible with our plugin, and we cater for like all the challenging aspects of running models in the DAW. So like, you know, there's a lot of things that are difficult and complex that you need to handle with a DAW, like, you know, changing in sample rate and buffer sizes, and, you know, what to do with the audio so that you get the expected sort of outcome when working in a DAW environment. So we've got these as part of our SDK, which is written in Python. A lot of these layers have been handled. So you, as a developer, only need to worry about building a neural audio model, and then you can like wrap it with our SDK. Deals with all the stuff that you need to kind of consider when applying and deploying a model in the DAW. And then it exports that and then serializes that to like a sort of C++ compatible format, which you can then dynamically at runtime import into the Neutone plugin and perform. And, you know, we have a bunch of parameters that are dynamic as well, that change based on the model that you've developed. And you can just in real time start like interacting with the model that you've developed and trained. So that's sort of the Neutone project. It's also like a community. So we're really trying to bridge the gap between the artists and musicians and the R&D and AI audio community. We're really trying to like improve and streamline accessibility to the technologies, and have conversations between these sort of two groups of you know, the users and the researchers, to help improve and iterate and you know, just really develop really impactful tools for creatives. So it's a community, it's a plugin, it's an SDK. You know, it's just a really exciting like set of tools to explore if you're interested in using deep learning and neural audio as, you know, in the DAW essentially, and as part of your music making workflow. So yeah,
that definitely will speed up the iteration cycle and the development, the feedback you get from the models you train somehow, and will also help you predict what will the usability be. But also it's awesome that you can give it to the users and then, you know, get the response from them, like how does it work, like does it sound nice, exactly, or not. Yeah.
Does it sound good? And I think that's so important when working with these technologies. It's all about the sound, and you know, if you can get things in an environment that you can listen to it and audition, you know, these models easily, then it just makes the whole experience of developing neural audio models so much better. And I should also add to that, like, one really appealing component of the plugin and of Neutone for you know, artists and users of the plugin is that we have this online model browser that's actually part of the tool, part of the plugin, where you can actually download and equip pre-trained models, so just out of the box ready to use models. And we have a bunch of great architectures and you know, there that we've built these models to do, like timbre transfer, like I was mentioned earlier, converting like maybe one instrument to another instrument, and you know, we have models like that, and bunch of other like convolutional kind of networks in there that do emulate certain effects, and we've had some great contributions as well from the community already, and like amplifier emulations, guitar amplifier emulations, and you know, effects pedals, and you know, it's like the scope of it is endless. You know, it allows you. It's just a great harness to perform any sort of neural audio model in the DAW. So.
Yeah, I agree. And is this why you launched the neural audio plugin competition, to somehow encourage the community to create more plugins that use neural networks and also let the users explore them?
Yes, exactly. Like, so the neural audio plugin competition we're running currently, so in partnership with the audio programmer, And it's just a really exciting initiative to try and spread awareness of this field, because the field of sort of neuro audio technologies and AI audio is still, I feel, quite niche, and maybe some people are either apprehensive to dive into that area, or because they maybe find it too intimidating, or maybe don't know enough about it, and also just to those that have no idea as well, like that this is going on. We just want to spread awareness that this stuff is happening. It's really fast evolving. It's allowing you to do things that you can't even do with like traditional like DSP methods. There's a lot of potential there to explore new terrain, and I think it's just really exciting to see how it can actually enhance like the artist's creative process and creative practice. And so we're trying to spread awareness and encourage like everyone to sort of partake in this sort of movement, researchers, developers, and artists. And at the moment, we're really trying to get people to build their own neuro audio plugins, as well as if they want to contribute to the Neutone platform, they can also submit a model, a neuro audio model through that, and that can also count towards the competition. The competition, we've got some great sponsors as well. I should add, TikTok are sponsoring. We've got GPU Audio, who I think you were speaking to quite recently, Jan. So we've got GPU Audio on there. We've got MathWorks, and we've got Cycling 74, and a whole bunch of sponsors that are all contributing some great prizes. And I think it's quite exciting to see. I am personally very excited to see what comes from it, and what is submitted, and some of the creations that are made. We gave some examples as well of like other plugins, other tools that exist that are using neuro audio and deploying neuro audio models, and I just think it's just a really exciting space, and I can't wait to see more and more stuff come and evolve around this sort of field. So that's why we're running the NAP competition. So it's a month-long competition. We're on we just did the second live stream yesterday, and that was like a run of workshops like Neutone and MATLAB as well. And next week we've got some great speakers coming on as well. There are academics and industry experts, and then we've got one more week after that, and then I think after that it's the judging and announcement, and we've got some great judges lined up, like celebrities in a way of the AI and DSP and audio software world, and as well as some artists as well, that well-known artists that are going to also be contributing to judging these creations and innovations. So it's just a really exciting time, and that's why I'm going on so much about it right now, because I'm so excited and passionate about this area, and I can't wait to see what comes from it. So we're right in the middle of it right now, so it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, definitely. And so could you give a specific date when is the submission deadline?
Yeah, so the submission deadline is, I think it's the 24th of March. Okay. So I can just double check actually, just in case I'm getting it mixed up with the final judging, because so the 24th. So the 24th of March is the actual judging competition and winner announcement. So that'll be our final event, I think, on the actual website. So you can check out through the audioprogrammer.com /neuro-audio. You can go there for all the competition details. And on here, I think we have a date for. Let's see if I can find it. You can find it on. Oh, yeah. Trying to find the date. It's on here somewhere. Oh, here we are. Yes, right. So the actual date, the cutoff for submission is the 17th of March. So that's the last. That's the 17th. So it's coming out quite soon now. And it was open since the 14th of February. So that was the opening date. So a sort of 4-week-long or month-long competition. And obviously we've had all these sort of workshops, live streams, and sort of educational sessions as well. So really excited for the results and for the announcement later this month.
Yeah. Good luck with this. And is this? I guess that it's the main area of your focus right now at Cosmo, right?
So yeah, my main focus at the moment at Cosmo is leading the Neutone project. So we are in the middle of building some really exciting new features. Some we've sort of teased at, and some we haven't mentioned yet. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works to try and again increase the scope of what you can do with Neutone, like the functionality. There's for example, a lot of great models that are coming out these days that you may or may not know, but like diffusion models are all the rage in the image space at the moment, and they're appearing in the audio domain as well for generating really high fidelity audio and going from text representations or descriptions of audio to generating sound. And we're hoping to have sort of functionality as part of Neutone that allows the running of heavier models, so models that are not models that are not suitable for real time, but can be run offline over a sort of longer period of time to generate audio. We're going to be catering for that functionality as well. And yeah, we've got a bunch of other features that we're working on as well. So like that's kind of my main responsibility at the moment, is leading that development, as well as doing all the NAP promotional stuff, and trying to educate those that are interested in using Neutone about the platform and the tools and the SDK. So yeah,
nice. And you also have a collaboration going on with GPU Audio, right? Because that's something they mentioned. So it's is it something that's in heavy works right now? Is it a deep secret, or is it a shallow secret?
I think there's parts of it that are probably I can't say too much about. But I mean, one aspect of the partnership with GPU Audio is to start bringing their technology into the DAW and to accelerate the deployment or the inference of neuro audio technologies, neuro audio models. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about with this partnership with GPU Audio, is harnessing their new tech to deploy heavier models that are maybe harder to run in real time on the CPU, but are able to run in real time on the GPU in a fashion that's not going to disrupt the real time nature of working within the DAW. So very excited about this prospect and the partnership with GPU Audio, and I'm hoping that we can bring these technologies and integrate these new technologies into tools like Neutone, and also in other tools as well.
Nice. So now, concluding somehow this topic of development, you mentioned a lot of programming languages, frameworks, and tools that you use. I was curious if you could share maybe if there are some more. So the one I noted down that you use or have used is Pure Data, C++, Python, PyTorch. And I was curious, are there any other tools that are widely available that you are using in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I mean, I also, similar to Pure Data, like work with the Max SDK, Max MSP SDK for building externals for Max, which is a similar kind of idea as building externals for Pure Data. And I used I'm very familiar with and use often different plugin development frameworks. So like Juiced, for example, or iPlug2. We had that was one thing to mention. Last week we had a talk at NAP from Ollie Larkin, the founder of iPlug2 framework, and he was giving a really exciting demonstration of a neuro audio plugin that was using the iPlug2 plugin framework with the Onyx runtime. So Onyx is another framework I should mention that I use for deploying neuro audio technologies. It's a C++ runtime. So they're probably the main libraries and frameworks and tools that I use on the day-to-day. As far as languages, I would say like C++, Python are my main languages. I also explore and dabble in others, but I wouldn't say they're like my first languages. I'm interested in Rust. I've used Go from time to time. JavaScript's also important. I should mention actually Neutone, the plugin is built. The front end of the plugin is a web stack. So actually, all of the UI and UX of the Neutone plugin has been developed in JavaScript. So that's for those that are interested in the plugin development side of things. That's a kind of a challenge that we set out to do to try and give a more engaging and compelling browser-like experience, I guess, of like using Neutone and being able to like download from like a server different models and things like that. So so there's JavaScript in there as well. I didn't do too much of the JavaScript side of things myself, like the front end, but like definitely have to be exposed to such languages at times. So they're kind of the common things that I use, I guess, on the day-to-day.
Nice. And switching gears now a little bit, could you tell me, as a person coming from the UK, how is now living and working in Japan? How would you describe this experience?
Yeah, so it's definitely a transition in so many different ways. There's obviously a huge shift in culture between the UK and Japan, and in so many different ways. So trying to integrate into that culture is something that I'm currently doing. Like I'm on that sort of transition at the moment. Working in Japan's been great. The Cosmo as a company are a fantastic company that have, values similar to maybe some sort of startup and newer companies that we see maybe in the UK and Europe and the US. So it's very much a kind of flexible and easygoing company. Like you can kind of if you just sort of keep to your project and you come and go and things like that, and it's not a very intense environment that some people might believe that working environments in Japan are quite intense and you're like overworked and things like that. And I'm not going to say that that's not the case elsewhere, because it definitely exists, and I'm sure it exists in different cultures as well. But I'm being quite lucky that Cosmo are a more flexible kind of a company when it comes to that side of things, and a great team. So great team to kind of to work with and have conversations with on the day to day. So like it's been a transition in different ways, but at the same time, and I'm sure, Jan, you know yourself from your experience, like you end up over time you start to see more similarities than you see differences after a while, and I think that it's quite comforting. It's not like I'm in this alien world over here, like in Japan. It's like there's so many things that are actually really familiar. When you get past the culture shock at the start, you start to actually realize that everything's pretty much the same.
Yeah, humans are the same.
Yeah, exactly,
nice.
Right?
Thanks for this very interesting description, especially because I don't know many people from Europe who decided, to journey to Japan to work and live there. So it's really awesome that you can share this experience here. And on a similar note of enjoying experiences, I wanted also to ask you, how was the Audio Developers Conference 2022 for you? Was it your first ADC, or was it already a second one?
So it was my second one, but the first one that I was speaking at and attended in person. Before that, I attended virtually, which was still great. It was great to attend virtually and see all the great research and work that's been done by all the different audio software companies that were attending. And this year was just that to a whole new level. Like, being there in person at ADC was fantastic. I met so many amazing people, like yourself, like just meeting and exchanging knowledge and being really passionate about so many different areas of audio software and DSP and, deep learning. It was just a really great energy for the ADC conference. I was super excited about how much AI audio stuff was coming up through different companies, and there was a huge focus or just a huge interest around AI audio technologies last year. So that was really exciting to see. It was like the hot topic, which made me feel really good about being in this space and sort of innovating in this space. So it was just great, and it was great to speak to so many companies that were also interested in exploring neuro audio. And there was some great tech demos as well from other companies like Supertone, for example. With their sort of voice changing technology in real time, and there's so many great demos last year. It was just incredible, and just the social side of it was so much fun, and presenting was a great feeling as well, like being able to present the work we've been doing at Cosmo, the Neutone project, and we got a lot of excitement and interest there, which made us all, like myself and Chris, feel really good about the work that we'd been doing. So it was just overall a fantastic experience, and I'm hoping that we can go again this year. I don't know, Jan, if you're thinking the same, but I'd love to go again, I think. And I feel like I might have an addiction now after the first one, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'd also love to go. And who knows? Maybe my talk proposal will get accepted.
Yeah, hopefully. That'd be great. I mean, your talk last year was fantastic as well. So, we'll see. We'll need to figure out whether Cosmo will be wanting to speak at this year as well. But it's also interesting that they've got the extension of ADC in I think, is it San Francisco? Is that right?
Yeah, so, San Francisco, exactly.
So that's exciting as well.
Yeah. And also you mentioned that there's a lot of AI products coming our way in audio. How would you respond to the accusation that, AI is depriving artists of their creativity and it's a danger to human creativity?
So that's the question, or the comment, sorry, that is raised a lot. And, I'm very much against that idea that, I'm very much against building tools that are stripping away creativity from artists. Like the whole initiative and aim for us at Cosmo is to build tools that augment and enhance the creative process. So I think there are maybe some initiatives out there that are trying to maybe not replace musicians, but like there's some aspects of the music creation process that they're wanting to automate. And, you know, to be honest, some things may be more susceptible to being automated than others. And I think there's more like functional, there's a more functional side of music making for certain tasks that, you know, maybe a generative music system is more suited for. But I disagree with the fact that or the idea that AI will replace human creativity and like replace musicians and artists completely. I don't think that will ever be the case. But I think AI and the tools that we develop around AI will be another instrument for artists and musicians, and another tool and something that will extend creativity more than replace it.
Nice. Thank you. So on the closing note, what advice would you give to people who want to become audio researchers, also who are starting in audio research or who are interested in the research related to neural networks and audio?
Yeah, so there's a lot of tips and advice I could give around that for sure. So I think it really depends on exactly where your interest lies. I think there's a lot of sort of basic principles that are valuable to know. So, for example, if you're interested in working with audio, I think learning about DSP is a good thing to do. And you know, there's a lot of a good grounding in how to work with digital audio comes from learning about DSP. I think going on from that, you know, actually being wanting to learn about AI and how to use AI as part of you know, in music and in audio, I think it's good to again try and learn some of the fundamental concepts behind deep learning, how it works. And there's now like so many resources and courses that are available online. You don't need to go to, you know, a fancy university to access that information. There's like great resources around, you know, through Jan's channel as well. Like there's great resources that are available for learning things to do with deep learning and DSP and audio programming. So I would say that, you know, getting a basis on audio programming, learning some programming languages that are useful to achieve that, like C++, for example, or Python. And then learning a bit about DSP, generally how to work with digital audio. And then I think start learning about the deep learning AI concepts and trying to learn how you build neural networks. And there's great, again, like I was saying, great courses available and material online for that. And then at that point, it's maybe more about thinking about more complex architectures and learning about that. And that will require you to read some of the latest papers that are being published, for example, and to keep a tab on like the different research that's coming out of different institutions and companies and things like that. And yeah, it's just constantly an ongoing, evolving field. So, you know, it's a journey anyway. But a good starting place is to get a basis in DSP and the basis of neural networks and the basis of audio programming. And then, yeah, the sky's the limit from that point.
Nice. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Andrew, for all your answers. I have one last question to you, namely, if someone wanted to contact you, where do you recommend they go?
So you can contact me you can find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Fyfe on LinkedIn. I'll probably pop up, you'll see me rocking out with a guitar. It's kind of my go-to profile picture a lot of the times. Or you can email me, Andrew@cosmo.jp as well. And also you can get contact the Cosmo team in general by going on the Cosmo website, and they have all their contact information there. You can also, I should probably plug the Neutone project, which exists on a different website, so definitely check out Neutone.space, and that's where all the resources are for Neutone. There's also on that website, Neutone.space, there's a Discord link to join the community, and that's where you'll probably find me most, because I'll be in the Discord a lot, in conversations with the community, helping refine the plugin and sort of engage in interesting conversations on how to, improve the functionality, and also what models that we can create for Neutone. So you'll find me on Discord, you'll find me on LinkedIn, and if you want to contact me via email, then Andrew@cosmo.jp. And if you want to contact Cosmo to collaborate on AI audio related projects, send them a message. Their details are on the Cosmo website.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this interview. Good luck with all your project, your PhD, Neutone, and the neural audio plugin competition. And thanks a lot for this time to our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And all the best on your projects as well, Jan.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Thanks, everyone. That was Andrew Fyfe from Cosmo and the University of Glasgow. Thank you, Andrew, very much. It was a pleasure to have this interview with you. As a small reminder, the Neural Audio plugin competition is going on until March the 17th, 2023, so there's not much time left. And if you would like to check out any references mentioned in this podcast, please go to thewolfsound.com/talk011. Once again, thewolfsound.com/talk011. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment or like on YouTube. And if you are looking for a ready-made roadmap on how to become an audio plugin developer, please take a look at my free audio plugin developer checklist that you can get under thewolfsound.com/checklist. Thanks for listening and see you in the next episode. Take care.